you trying to find? You're nervous. What?
Right there.
Yeah. Are you trying to send us a message?
Roger. Roger meaning yes or Roger meaning Roger?
Are you talking about Roger Martin?
Welcome to Paranormal Gateway Paratalk. I'm host Scott Wise, and tonight's special guest is attorney Rathman, founder, the investigator of Entity Forces Paranormal Investigations, and EVP ITC researcher currently developing the Staticom method, an evolution of spirit communication that's changing how we hear voice from beyond. With background philosophy and a passionate spark by one life-changing investigation, Terry has explored hundreds of haunted sites across the U.S., Japan, and the Philippines. In the last decade, he has developed cutting-edge spirit boxes like the EVOX series and refined ITC techniques based on the work of pioneers like Fredrich, Jurgenson, and Marcello Bacci. He worked removes terrestrial radio from the equation using only white noise to achieve real-time two-way spirit communication. Terry is also the creator and co-host of Entity Forces Paranormal Evidence on the Euronext network, where he and his wife Sherry share some mystical evidence captured by paranormal teams around the world, from the haunted halls of the old Philistine Hospital to appearances on paranormal shows like Destination Fear, Fade to Black, and haunted hotels. Terry has become one of the most respected names in modern spirit communication. So without further ado, let's welcome Terry to the show. Hey, Terry.
How you doing? Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Sure, I was looking forward to this. I mean, the Staticom is amazing. I mean, like you said, many years going into that, but
yeah, and that clip you just played, it was funny because I wasn't even completely done putting or building it, and the voices in that clip you just showed up, and they started speaking, and my wife grabbed her phone and said, "Let me record this." And so she turned her phone on, started recording, and then she would make comments to what you just heard, and they'd comment back. And I'm like, my gosh, this was the upgrade to Staticom 3.0. But that clip you just played showed that the two-way communication, which was one of the purposes that we were trying to achieve, and that getting it to stay to allow us to communicate back and forth worked. And there was you even heard the spirit say perfect right there. I was adjusting, and they literally told me where to stop. When he said perfect right there, I stopped, and we haven't moved it since.
So is there certain frequency or something mixed into it, or
is there what mixed in?
Is there a certain frequency?
It's every frequency the human ear can hear. Okay. So broadband white noise is everything from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, which is where most human hearing, as long as there's no deficiency, lands. So white noise is every frequency at a spectral frequency of 1, meaning they're all at the same level. And it provides the most robust environment for spirits to speak, because people will ask us, well, what frequency do spirits speak at? They're all over the boards. We have heard them speak from 100 hertz to 10,000 hertz. So giving them the full band of frequencies makes sure we don't miss anything. And that way we're sure to capture what our human ears can hear.
So going to it that many hertz, did you have like a scanner that says it's the spot then, and tune it in, or?
No, what happens is it's a closed circuit system. meaning there's no microphones, there's no ability, there's no radio used, there's no AI used, there's no word banks, and it can't pick up satellite waves, radio waves, walkie-talkie, baby monitors, nothing. The only thing put in is white noise. The white noise is filtered. It is slowed down in real time. We slow it down by 50% because spirits speak at times so fast
Yeah.
that what sounds like a syllable can actually be a sentence or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we slowed it down in real time. We denoise it. We may amplify it, but it's all done in real time. And then when the spirits speak, they cover a couple of frequencies within the white noise band, and through the process of stochastic resonance, their voice gets elevated up, but the white noise level does not rise, just the voice, which is the principle of stochastic resonance. So then we go through and we cut the white noise out at the end, leaving just the voice.
There's when I do my AVP evidence, I used Audacity because that seems to help with the white noise and background noise.
Yeah, EVP used white noise a lot to help amplify the voice. Lots of background noises are used during EVP to help the clarity. We've even had instances through friends who have told us that Spirit said they want some background noise to elevate the speech that they're leaving.
Right. I feel like it's more energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. So, with your background philosophy, how did that training influence your approach to paranormal investigation?
Well, there's there's nothing better to us than vocals. And it's why we started with EVP. We went over to instrumental transcommunication, spirit boxes. We started out with the SB7, the SB11, but I could not stand the white noise. It drove me crazy. And I said to my wife, I said, they're answering 80-90% of the questions we asked, but between the noise and between the fragments of radio audio, it was really difficult to tell what they were saying. So through years of testing, along with our former partners, some tests were done, and we realized that radio wasn't needed at all. The whole theory behind a spirit box was that as a spirit box scanned through the radio stations, you'd get these fragments of audio. And Frank Sumption, who had invented the Frank's box, theorized that they could take these fragments of audio and rearrange them into their own sentences. Well, when we determined that that wasn't necessary and that we could use just plain white noise and then cut the white noise out without the radio fragments, that's where the clarity came in. That's where we got clear voices without fighting the white noise, without fighting the radio, and with timing and relevance to the question we asked. So we'd ask a question and the answer that would come through was relevant from the question that was asked. It answered the question that was asked and in a timely manner. So it has a huge effect on paranormal. I mean, we get asked probably 100 times a week, when is this going to be available? When can I try this? That I can't answer yet, because when we started doing the research, when the four of us at that time, our partners went back and researched methods that were used, that were tested by science, and that couldn't be debunked, that was direct radio voice. So they actually brought that back, and from that is where Staticom now is today, at the 3.0 level.
Is the white noise ever try any kind of noise?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that. I mean, I guess I would say yes, but The process of going through and getting the clarity took everything from direct radio voice to Staticom 2.0, and we didn't get that clarity until 3.0 because of the challenges that we figured out were there, and then it took time to figure out how to correct them to get the clarity that we've got.
All right. I started investigating back a long time ago, but we started off with just G7. And then we used that for a while, but I think our thing is that we're all skeptics. You know, to have that one thing that hooks you. So you were a skeptic also.
I didn't believe any of this 15 years ago. Not any of it. And then my wife tricked me on Valentine's Day in 2010 and said, I want to go ghost hunting. And I was like, oh, you're kidding me. So I took her, played along. But when we got the stuff home, and especially the digital recorder, where we were the only two people in the hotel at 3 a.m. in the morning in the basement, there was nobody there, nobody around. And these voices were answering the questions we asked. That blew me away. I tried to debunk it, couldn't. I said to her, you know what, maybe there's a vent in the basement from somebody else's room that it was connected to. Maybe the voices were coming through there. Let's go back and take a look. So we did. No vent, no voices from other rooms. And we came back with even more voices. And that's how it all started. And like I said, the fascinating thing about a vocal is that before I even hear what they said, I can tell if it's male or female. I can tell if it's an adult or a child. I can tell what language they're speaking. I can tell if they have some kind of accent. I can tell their emotional state. Are they happy? Are they angry? Are they upset? Are they depressed? All that comes through in the vocal tone. And that to me just was unmatchable by any other piece of paranormal equipment out there, except for maybe a full-bodied, full-color apparition on videotape. That's probably the ideal. But compared to some device that blinks a light or plays music, to get all this information on, what they sound like, what language they're speaking, what their emotional state is, and that's even before I listen to their reply. Then I get their actual answer to the question I asked, and that's just unbeatable to me.
Right. I remember back at the investigation at Bed Breakfast in Gettysburg, and we got a answer on our rescue reaction for a soldier, and it says soldier. So it's the accent. So
Right.
And we also got French speaking already. So that's
cool.
weird. Yeah.
That's cool. We've gotten multiple different languages. The advantage that we have is that my wife speaks 3 languages. She can speak English, Tagalog, and Japanese. So a lot of the times we'll be having conversations and they'll throw in Tagalog sentences. Now, I have no idea what they said, but of course she does, and she'll respond back. But we've also we turned it on one time, and which is the cool thing about Staticom is you don't necessarily have to ask questions. You can just listen because they're talking to each other. But we turned it on one time, and I remember saying, "What language are you speaking? That doesn't sound like English." And I let them talk for a while before I said that. And then they turned around and in English said Turkish. And I was like, wow. And I said, I don't speak Turkish. Can you speak in English? So they did. But we took that recording to someone who speaks Turkish, and they told us exactly what they were saying. So it was actually Turkish. It was really cool.
Wow, that's cool. So as investigating identifications in all countries, which must stand out most profound to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's a lot. It's a trick question, so
No, I totally understand. Totally understand. But, it's an amazing device to have at an investigation because there's so many things that it can do. It can give you information that you're not aware of, and we've even used it with different psychics and medium where the medium will give information and then Staticom can back it up or give additional information to it. This device, once it becomes available, will change multiple scenarios. It'll change paranormal investigation. It'll hopefully change science's understanding that consciousness does survive death. Not only does it survive, but it can be communicated with.
Or so in case everybody doesn't know what EVP and ITC are, can you explain to them?
If we can see what?
If you can explain what EVP and ITC is. Just for people out there who don't know.
Sorry, I think I heard you correctly. You were asking if we can see them?
No, if you can explain to our viewers.
Oh, okay.
What EVP is.
What EVP is?
And ITC.
Okay, sure. EVP is electronic voice phenomena. It is captured on a digital recorder. And that process is called record and review. They call it that because you'll turn your recorder on, you'll set it down, and then you'll ask questions. But then what usually happens is that when you're done, you'll shut your recorder off and you'll take it home. You'll upload it to your computer. You'll try to denoise it. You may amplify it, and then you listen for responses. And that does work. Don't get me wrong. EVP does work. But the downfall to it is that by the time you hear what was said, you're no longer at the location. You're now at home. And even if you get a response, which is great to do, I still love EVP, but you can't respond to it. The conversation is over. You're no longer there, and you're reviewing it back at home on your computer. ITC is instrumental transcommunication. And that term was developed by a gentleman named Ernst Sinkowski. And he tried to separate EVP because any spirit voices at that time was considered to be EVP. But he termed it ITC, or instrumental transcommunication, because he wanted a separate term for two-way communication rather than just record and review. So that's the difference between EVP and ITC.
Yeah. You mentioned that Staticom is based over 40 years of the work for Fredrich and Marcello, Bacci. Who are these pioneers that how they worked and formed their techniques?
Yeah, Marcello, who was taught by Konstantin Radova, Fredrich Jurgenson figured out that he could get voices from direct radio voice. He passed that information on to Konstantin Radova, and then Radova passed it on to Marcello Bacci. Now, the good thing about Marcello Bacci was over that time frame, he would call people and get them together, people who had lost children or family members or going through a grieving process. And he'd turn the radio on and he'd actually get messages from the other side, which was very helpful to those grieving, being able to understand that, hey, you know what, maybe they're not gone forever. Maybe they have just transitioned. And the best part about Marcello was that he was actually tested in a laboratory by scientists, and they could not debunk the voices that he was receiving.
What scientific principles do you believe might explain how Staticom works?
Sure. So there's a principle in physics called stochastic resonance. And what that is, it is the use of white noise to make an undetectable audio signal detectable. whether that be by human hearing or by a sensor. So what Staticom does is it takes white noise and applies it to the audio environment within the computer, which there's no audio data in white noise. So people always say, wait, you're pulling these voices from white noise? No, actually, we're not. The voices, which we now refer to as the ghost in the machine, and that machine can be a digital recorder, that machine can be a radio, that machine can be a computer, television set, or almost any wide range of electronic equipment. But what happens then is the white noise elevates the voice, elevates it either to the sensors that are recording within the computer or to our own human hearing. And it literally takes what is undetectable to us as humans and makes it detectable.
All right. So you've been developing spirit box for 12 years. How do you think technology evolved over that time?
Well, I haven't touched a spirit box in almost 4 years now.
Yeah. Okay.
Just because, we did some really good work, and I'm proud of the work that we did. But the communication between a spirit box and what Staticom can do is night and day. So why is that? Well, we believe that the theory that spirits are going to rearrange those audio fragments into their own sentence isn't the way that it necessarily works. We believe that white noise is all that's needed to give them a background noise to speak. And on a spirit box, when a radio station is hit, even for a fraction of a second, it cuts them from speaking any further, which is why the responses from a spirit box are short. You get a word or two, they're said quickly. You usually get yes or no answers. But with Staticom, you can get full sentences because there's no radio station bleed through into the signal that's going to stop them or block them from using white noise.
Right. You talked earlier about EVP waiting at home to check your results. We started using the burst method. We have some success for that, but
That's good.
yeah.
Doing EVP, like I said, with a background noise, anything from white noise to, we've heard people say, even if you shuffle a cloth by the mic, not when you're talking, but when you're waiting for a response, that can increase the clarity of the response that you get. And we've got a bunch of tests that we're going to do applying to EVP as well. But knowing how the process works for Staticom, we believe that we can tweak that process to work for EVP as well.
Yeah, because a lot of places we go to have problems with contamination. So be careful of that.
Absolutely. And that's one of the main criticisms of EVP is that if the clarity isn't good enough, then skeptics and scientists will say, well, that's not speech. You're hearing warbles and artifacts of sound, and you think you're hearing words, but you're not. And then the other main concern from ITC perspective is that you were getting stray radio. Well, we wanted to get rid of both of those low-hanging fruit, so we cleared the speech and we removed the radio completely.
Right, we're on investigation once, and we didn't realize it, but I got home, I heard this, what the hell was that? It was actually cars outside going down that road. It's like, when they hear it, but
Right.
it was there. So,
digital recorders can be super effective of picking up very slight sound. So it's so important to know your environment, know what's going on, know what noises are happening around you so you don't mistake when you're listening to the recording something that was natural or a natural sound that you're now thinking is something else.
right. And while you're my evidence, I have to, when in doubt, throw it out.
That's a good rule. That's a good,
Yeah.
and we did that as well for years. If it's not
Yeah.
clear enough that you can understand it, then nobody else is either. And yeah, when in doubt, throw it out. I agree.
Yeah. So, during the time operating at Old Phillips Dodge Hospital, was the pelvic evidence you captured?
We had some great captures there. We ran the old Phelps Hospital for 3.5, 4 year time frame.
Hospital.
Yeah, with some friends of ours at that time, and we got there wasn't a we, there were times we were there 3 times a week. There were times that we actually spent the whole night there. We'd investigate till like 2 or 3 in the morning and then sleep there. But we'd set up DVR cameras, let them run all night. We would hook FLIR into the DVR so that it could be recorded as well. And the last time we did that, we captured an amazing 3D shadow figure that walks out from one of the rooms, walks up to the camera, turns around, walks back, and it's a 3D shadow. It's amazing.
Do you have a poster on YouTube? No.
Yeah, it's on our YouTube channel. It's
All
there.
right.
It's called Shadow Figure, I think.
Oh, okay, cool. So, do you want me to share some of your stuff, or?
Yeah. I think I sent you, let's see, you played the initial. That was 3.0. I don't remember which ones I sent you. Can you tell me what you've got and I'll tell you which one to play?
I have,
Okay.
we have 7 Staticom responses.
Okay.
Well, for that one. Also, we have the round of testing,
Okay.
shit things.
Okay. These sound like all 3.0. I don't know if I sent you any of the 2, but it doesn't matter.
I think I want 2.0.
Do you have a 2.0?
Yeah.
Okay, so play the one called Chip Patum.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get that one.
All right.
Here we are.
Can you say Tony? Did you just say Rathman? Yep. So you know who I am. Can I know who you are? Yes, sir. Thank you. Who am I speaking to?
Now, I have a question for you. So it gives your names. If you go on a site looking for the name,
Yeah, I asked them just to say Tony, and they said my legal name first and last. So I'm thinking, okay, they know who I am. I want to know who they are. And I just want to say hi to April. I see she just popped up
oh, okay.
of a comment. So good to see you, April. But anyway, yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, they just said my full name. They know who I am. So I wanted to know if they could tell me who they were. And sure enough, first one answers Chip Patum, second one answers Harold Patter, which how often have you heard that from a spirit box? Not very often.
All right. So you ever go on to a site called Find the Grave?
Well, we did try to research it, but there was 2 problems. So this was back on Staticom 2.0. This wasn't 3.0 yet.
Yeah.
So Staticom 2.0 would give us some clear responses, but it wouldn't stay. Meaning we'd get a sentence or 2 that was clear, and then it would go to sort of mumble jumbo. And that was one of the things we knew we had to fix, and we fixed with 3.0. But the thing with working with just audio is that they gave names. Now, did I spell them right? Did they have some sort of silent consonants in it that I'm not aware of? Don't know. Then the other part was I didn't get to ask, when were you born or who was president. So I don't have a
Right.
time frame. So a name like Chip Padam, that's not that strange of a name. Trying to research that and not knowing a time frame makes it really difficult. So we did try, but there wasn't enough information to research it effectively.
All right. Wow. That was a good one.
Yeah. So if you play the 2.0 version called Energy of the Mind, that's a good one.
Okay.
How do you hear me speak?
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's what we thought. Wow. And a couple of reasons for that. We did years and still do today EVP work, but we noticed at times that I'd start to ask a question and the answer would show up on the recorder before I even finished asking it. That explains it because they don't need me to vocalize it. It's what we believe to be consciousness, our human consciousness, passing information back to universal consciousness. So me having to say it isn't necessary. And that was the question I asked. How do you hear me speak? Because me as a human, I use my vocal cords, which create sound waves in the atmosphere. And those sound waves will travel 100 yards, 200 yards before they start to break apart and dissipate. Another human being who's standing in that range, the follicles in their ear will vibrate. That vibration gets sent to a liquid center of the ear, which then begins to vibrate. That liquid center vibrates and is sent to the brain. And the brain then interprets it as speech. But if a spirit doesn't have a human body anymore, and I'm using my vocal cords to talk, and they're not bound to time and space and could be anywhere, I want to know how they heard me. And that answer not only supports the fact of how they could answer on the recorder before I said it, how we believe that thought energy transfers back and forth between universal consciousness and being a fractal part as human of that universal consciousness. And there's a transfer of information between the two. It also supports the scientific survival theory of consciousness, which when we heard that, we're just like this, what an answer. What a great answer.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. All right. So I think then, I know you played the initial. I think you have one titled Responses.
Yep.
Okay. So this is 3.0. This is the second night. So the initial one you heard was night one when we got it running.
Mhm.
This is the next night. I came home from work, flipped it on. I wanted to see if it was still functioning the way that we left it off the night before. So I flip it on. Now, granted, at this time, Staticom 3.0 was 2 days old. So you're not going to hear me ask research questions. I just wanted to know, can they respond? How long can they respond? Can they hear me? So that clip is exactly what this is.
Wow. Okay.
Rathman, I heard you say Rathman. Yes. What did you want to say to Roger? It's Tony. Spirits, can you hear me? Yes, okay. That was a loud voice that just answered. What's your name? That's a strange name. How many spirits are here with us right now? A lot? A lot, yeah, that's what I thought you said. Because there's so many of you, is that why all the background chatter? They're talking? Do you have any messages for us?
Dude, that could be chills.
Right. And this is, we were testing to make sure we could keep talking, that they would keep answering. They did. You had multiple voices in there, not one, but different voices, male voices, female voices. Like, I love the part when they said, Roxy, he's talking to us. They knew that I was communicating with them. And then there's, the responses of, you've done it.
You've done it, yeah.
Right. But the clearly shows timing and relevance to the questions that I was asking or they were asking. The clarity of the voice and the intelligence of it was just absolutely fascinating. But yeah, that's what 3.0 can do.
Wow. Let's try to give it chills. Well, hopefully we'll get out.
Eventually. Yeah.
Yeah.
The two of the things that have been the biggest drawback is that one, we're not done with the research. Two, every time we thought, okay, let's release it, we figured something out and upgraded it again. And we didn't want to, put it out and say, okay, wait, now you gotta do an upgrade to it. So we want to make sure we've got it working as professionally as we can before we do that. But the other major hurdle is that it's a complicated system. It's not like a spirit box that you just turn the on button on and use. It requires some sound knowledge, some principles of physics, some understanding of audio processing. And the concern is that if we were to release it now without being done with the research, let's just say we released 1,000 of them and people turn it on and they're like, okay, we did everything you said, but it's not working. What do I do? Well, now you multiply that question times 1,000 other people and our research would end. Right now, there's only 2 of us. We had 4 prior, but right now there's only 2 of us. It's my wife and I. To answer 1,000 people, and we just don't have the manpower to do that. And it's going to stop both the research and the advancement of the whole reason we started this to begin with.
And I'm asking for some processor, Windows 11. Would they be able to handle it, all at once?
We are running top of the line computers, heavy RAM, 16 plus cores in order to get it to do what it does.
I kind of figured that.
Yeah. It's, if you grabbed a computer that's 5-6 years old and tried to do it, no, it's not going to function like it needs to. So robust top of the line computer is needed because everything's happening live. White noise is slowed down in real time. It is filtered. It is cleaned. The white noise is cut off. The vocal is extracted, again cleaned, and then comes out the speaker. So it's a pretty intensive method on the processor to make that all happen smoothly. And as we upgraded, we had to upgrade computers because we realized that, okay, that one's not strong enough to do the upgrades I did. Time to move up.
Right. I got to figure that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the major issues.
Right. Yeah. So, once we realized that we could get this, even back with the direct radio voice, when we knew we could get them the answer, the steps moving forward was how clear can we get the voice? Can we keep the voice to stay? And as you can see from the clip we just watched, that was probably like a 45-minute cut down. You can see the question answers, but we got it to stay. In fact, in 3 months now, we have not lost the clarity of the voice. And I think I have another clip called Fourth Round, which is, again, more communication, more two-way question and answers. So if you want to play that one, this would be a good time.
Sure.
Awesome.
Time what? Well, I can hear you when you whisper, you know that, right? Spirits, if you're not familiar with this device is called Staticom. If you heard me say Staticom. That's better.
Now, can you say Staticom for me, please?
Alright, Spirits, if you don't want to say Staticom, let's play another game. What am I holding in my hand? Glasses, thank you. Thank you very much. How about pineapple? Can you say pineapple? Oh, perfect, thank you. How come you can't say Staticom like that?
It's one word.
It's one word, Staticom. Have you not been able to talk to humans before? If you can hear me, Spirits, say elephant.
Do you know Tony?
It's me. If we use this device to help cold cases, will you answer the questions? Yeah, sure. You bet. Thank you.
That will help.
That'll help a lot.
Wow. It's a Staticom. You realize the entire joke was video.
Yeah. That was a really interesting clip because there were so many things in it just in that short amount of time. But the phrase "Kailapan," that's Tagalog, which means "when was that?" And I don't know if you caught that, but that was clearly in response to my wife saying what she said about saying Staticom, or no, that they didn't say Staticom. And then I said, why can't you say Staticom like that? And they responded, listen, you people, because they actually did say it and we missed it. Right. And then there was another statement about, drawing a blank. Can't remember what the other one was. But it's just, like I said, different voices responding with both timing and relevance and intelligence. You've got male voices, you've got female voices. They're responding to what we're asking them to say. Elephant, pineapple, and the voice is there. And this was the second last upgrade. I did one more about a week ago, which worked very, very well. But it's just, it's even we're blown away by it and the amount and the clarity and the responses that we get.
Yeah. Did you ever get any bad? Yeah.
Darker, meaner, yeah, but I would never say we've gotten anything demonic.
Nah.
But have we gotten some upset ones? Have we gotten ones? There was one time about a year ago that we did get something that came through that after it was done, screaming and yelling, there were probably 15 people in that room. Everybody said, okay, shut it off. Let's go outside. Let's take a break. The energy in the room was strong. We don't know exactly what it was, but it was a unique experience and not something I'll probably forget. But that's probably the one that sticks out to me the most. 95% of the time, they're usually pretty laid back. They're pretty open to communicating. Now, they will give us information about things that happened in the past, but they will never give us future information. Even something as simple as me saying, okay, I can take this job or this job. Which one should I take? They will not respond. They will not respond to what the winning Powerball numbers are because we've asked hundreds of times, but they don't answer. We believe that, and we call them universal laws, but we believe that we are put here to experience life, to grow, to evolve, to educate our individual or fractal consciousness during our life so that when we pass, it goes back to grow universal consciousness. And we don't believe that they can give information that's going to change that. So in other words, if they gave me the winning Powerball numbers, I'd be sitting on my own private island fishing all day and probably not learning, growing, or evolving the way that I was meant to during this life.
All right. But what else I got here?
All right.
I have one called Tokyo.
All right.
Who is the nasty man who was down here?
What's his name?
Did he beat the children down here?
Sure.
Why?
Because he's sick.
I was sick, yeah.
Yeah, he's sick.
What did he want to do to me when I was sitting in the chair talking to him? Choke me.
So now this was
Dory, old man.
right. This was a paranormal day at a place called the Bullion Plaza in Miami, Arizona. And we ran Staticom there for hours. But the woman who was asking those questions is a friend of ours. And she was telling us, even before she asked, that she felt a grumpy man in the corner of that basement. And she said, I haven't had an overwhelming feeling that he wanted to choke me. And so we set up Staticom, let her ask her questions. And sure enough, they indicated that he was there. She said, what did you want to do to me? His voice comes straight out, choke you. So that that was fascinating to us.
Wow, that's so but there are other spirits at that place outside domain.
Yeah. Yeah. But to have him literally say the exact wording that she was telling us, that I felt like he wanted to choke me. I felt like he wanted to choke me. And then for him to turn around or one of them answer that. Crazy.
It's kind of scary.
It's very scary. To a degree, it's very scary. Yes.
All right.
I think there's one more. Isn't there one more clip?
Yeah, I got there's that shit stain.
Yeah. Play that one.
There's spectacles too.
That one's amazing as far as answers and a little funny. So
yeah.
Spirits, can we play a little game? Sure. Okay, great. What am I holding in my hand? Spectacles. Spectacles, I heard, yeah. What up? What else? What's the other name for this? What am I holding? Not holding shit. What are these? What's the other name for this? Spectacles is right. What's the other name?
yeah, I mean, not only did they get it right, they said spectacles. I was asking to see if they could say glasses on top of it. But then this voice comes in. I'm like, what am I holding? Shit stains. I'm like, no, I'm not holding shit. But it shows the differences in personality. It shows their intelligence behind asking the question, that they can be funny, sarcastic, mean, just like human beings can. And we took these voices and had them analyzed by audio engineers. And they came back and said, this is not possible from randomness. This experiences the same consonant usage, vowel usage, pauses, emotional expression of human speech. And that's not possible from randomness. So there is definitely a lot more going on here than something random or from time to time. We can turn the box or the method on, not box, but method on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And those voices are there. They can be asked questions and get responses. And that is what's unique about Staticom. And we have a lot of testing yet to do.
Yeah, about cancer.
About what?
Cancer.
Yes. Oh, yes. So normally, anytime for years that we would investigate, my wife was always saying, how'd you die? How'd you die? How'd you die? And I'd always say to her, you know what? If they're going to answer, they're not dead. They may not be here anymore, but there's no way they can answer if they're truly science definition of death. When the mind dies, the body dies, consciousness dies. We can hopefully now show that's not true. But she'd always ask that. And I'm like, don't even ask that. They never answer. I was running, I think this was Staticom 2.0, but I was running it and she walked up behind me and said, how'd you die? Well, this time they actually answered.
Do you know how did you die?
So you can't miss that. I had cancer. And, it's not said with remorse or, hard feelings. So they obviously know they passed away. They obviously know they transitioned to the other side, and they know how they know what made them pass away, which is just incredible.
Yeah, it is. I think I'm fine for clips.
All right.
Do you want to tell us about your broadcast voice features?
Sure. So I just want to mention real quick, I know we're running out of time, but I just want to mention real quick, we are going to be in Halifax, Canada, November 1st, discussing this, doing some demonstrations. We will also be at Phenomicon September 3rd through the 6th. Again, 90-minute presentation, demonstration, all sorts of stuff. If you want to find us, go to the website entityvoices.com. There's a whole section on Staticom. You can find us under Facebook under either Tony Rathman or Cherie Rathman. If you go to YouTube, just search Staticom. There's a whole page with clips from the original, well, all the way back to Spirit Boxes, to DRV, to Staticom, Staticom 2.0 to Staticom 3.0. But those are the best places to find us.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm going to get back on again because I had a lot of fun tonight. It's awesome to get on. So
Very cool.
I'll go ahead and put info also when I post it.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
It'll also be on Spotify.
Okay.
So,
sounds good.
All right. So is there anything else you want to?
No, I think that covers it, and we covered a lot of it in 1 hour, so that was good because that was good.
Yeah. I was wondering because we got through. So
yeah, no,
like I said, it's a pleasure having you on during and
you bet.
I hope it gets back on again. A question for you: do you ever get out to the East Coast, like your PECon or?
We did last year, like we were at Gettysburg last year, and
I Gettysburg last year. Was I there last year or no? I think I missed last year, but I'm going this year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we won't be there this year. We've got some conflicting stuff, but not a problem. Gettysburg is a good event, no doubt about it. We don't usually get too often out to the East Coast just because we're way on the West Coast. But there's more and more things occurring out here now that we weren't involved in that we're involved in now. So it takes up a much bigger portion of our time. But if we ever are, I can definitely let you know.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to Paracon too in a couple weeks. So
awesome.
Fun. Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be nice.
My fourth year in a row. So
nice.
Yeah. Nice. It's like an hour down the river from me. So
okay.
Yeah. All right, Terry.
All right. I appreciate you having me on, Scott. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to discuss, and you have yourself a wonderful evening.
You too, Terry.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.